This talk is about learning to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. When we look at our motivation for most of human behavior, it's to chase a good feeling and to push uncomfortable feelings away. And at the root of that is the desire to feel safe. Because when we feel comfortable, we feel safe. And we feel uncomfortable, we feel unsafe. But there's two kinds of safety. There is physical safety, and there's emotional safety. And our emotional safety, when there has been trauma, that system gets thwarted because our original guidance system, we learned, was not safe to trust. In traumatic environments, chaotic environments, as little people, we couldn't make sense of why the people we loved and trusted, the people that were supposed to be providing for us, protecting us, guiding us in the world, couldn't do their job. And our little brains could not make sense of why the people we loved were treating us in an unkind and less than loving way to one degree or another. And so, because of that inability to see that the people we love were projecting their pain onto us, it wasn't safe to express ourselves. It wasn't safe to be vulnerable. It wasn't safe to be angry. And so, out of survival, we made their pain mean something about us. And that is really the definition of trauma. It's not really what happened, but what we make it mean about ourselves. And so in order to make sense of that pain being projected onto us, our little mind said, oh, my dad must be treating me that way because I'm bad. My mom must be yelling at me like that because I'm unlovable, because there's something wrong with me. And every time our bodies felt a harsh tone, before we could even make sense of language, there was a clenching. Every time there was too much chaos for our sensitive little nervous systems, clenching. And when we could understand language, every time that somebody said something that wasn't loving, there was clenching. And then because we made it mean something about ourselves, that it was our fault, the way we were being treated, we started telling ourselves the same thing. I'm unlovable. I'm unworthy. And each time we did that, there was clenching. Because no matter where the violence comes from, whether it be a tone, whether it be a physical slap, whether it be a message from ourselves, there is clenching. But you see, when we grow up, we leave those environments. And the clenching is no longer necessary. But because it's so habituated, we can't see that it's over. And we can't see if somebody speaks to us in a tone that causes clench, that we can walk away. That we can train them, oh, excuse me, that's not how I allow myself to be treated anymore. You see, we never learned that. We just relive our childhood moments. So this body is basically made of clenching. And the emotional body, if there was trauma, that's all it's made of, is clenching. The survival self, the one that says, I'm unworthy, I'm unlovable, its body is made of clenching. So we have physical clenching and we have emotional clenching. And then we perceive the clenching, the pain is dangerous. So there's another layer of clenching. No wonder we live in our heads to distract ourselves from the clenching. No wonder our minds always spin about how to feel safe. It looks in the moment and it recognizes safety, but because the body is still filled with so much pain and so much clenching, that it can't make sense, that it feels unsafe, so it projects into the future. Something bad is going to happen. That's why I feel this way. That person said something. Oh, that's why I feel this way. No. It's not why you feel this way. You feel this way because you took responsibility for someone else's pain and caused your own based on that mistake. Because you made their pain mean something about you that was never, ever true. You were born wide open, innocent, with the inability to think. Just this innate wisdom, the guidance system of the body. If you see a little child, it goes from angry to sad to happy in so little time. But when those things aren't safe, we start building layers of protection. And when we dip into the felt sense, and it's painful there, what you're feeling is the layers of protection. protection from tones, from slaps, from chaos, from our own thinking system of believing someone else's pain meant that we were not worthy, we were not lovable. There was something wrong with us, we were bad, whatever the stories are. The stories that continue often into adulthood without going unquestioned, without understanding the origin of them, that they were a survival strategy of a child in order to make sense of what was happening around them. A mistake. The original meaning of sin is a mistake. So when we were taught about original sin, it is that. The original mistake of making someone's pain about ourselves. So think of it as when the Chinese women used to have their feet bound, and the bandaging happened slowly. It was painful. But it happened slowly over time, and more wrapping and tightening and tightening and tightening. So every time we received some kind of attack, either from other people or by ourselves, from ourselves, we put more binding on the foot and caused it to clench, deform, and hurt. So now, in the process of healing, in the process of awakening back into our innocence, we undo this binding, this conditioning. We start to realize, oh my gosh, I was never unworthy. And the binding comes off. That was a mistake. Oh, that was just a strategy to survive. The people pleasing, the inability to be authentic, it was just a strategy. And we take these bindings off, as we start to realize our innocence and the innocence of others. That nobody came in with the ability to hurt. That we have to learn to hurt ourselves and hurt each other. And whatever we learn, we can unlearn. And as we unlearn, we start to pierce these layers, which is removing the binding from the deformed foot. And even though the binding may come off, the foot that's made of clenching, if it fell away all at once, all the bones would break. If it opened to a relaxed state, it would no more be relaxed. So the foot has to recognize it's unbound. And in its own time, little by little, because it's too painful to unwind too much all at once, the foot learns that there's no more binding and that it's safe. It's safe little by little. In the amount of pain that can be tolerated, it learns to relax back into its natural, relaxed state. And this is what's happening in our own body minds. The more we took responsibility for people's pain and inflicted it on ourselves, the more concretized the deformity is. But it can relax. But it will be painful. And we are building capacity to hold the pain of what was never true about ourselves or about anyone. So the process in the bound foot relaxing to the degree of tightness that it was bound is the degree of discomfort that may happen when the foot tries to relax back into its natural state. But the good news is the natural state is still there. So the discomfort of the unwinding is not something to be afraid of, even though the mind sometimes perceives it is. And that's why it's so important to learn how to recognize the safety of the moment. And the safety of the moment can only be recognized by moving outside the skin line, outside the body mind, into the environment to notice what's actually happening. And that the past is over and the future isn't here. And the only place to find safety is now. And in order to recognize the safety of now, one has to learn to relax attention. So that is the introduction to the guided meditation, so that you understand what the discomfort is. And we are building capacity to allow the unwinding with nothing breaking. We will use mindful regard and go at the pace of the unwinding, softly, gently, kind. So in these subsequent guided meditations, you'll know what's happening. When you listen to this explanation over and over and over until the brain starts to understand it's not dangerous. It's part of the process.